Technical difficulties on our end, but don't fret because we are back. We have swapped things a little bit around on our end, so now we can bring you guys the action live. The score is currently 1-1 Mouseplayz. They were able to take a victory after suffering a flawless pummeling on the side of Reactive. That was round number 1, if I'm not mistaken. They had visited the top floor of Cafe Bar and Cocktail. They lost that, and then they decided to visit, if I'm not mistaken, Bar once again, and they were able to take it. So, 1 round apiece, and now, let's see where we go from here.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the way they came back from a flawless defeat is questionable at best, because obviously you'd assume if after a flawless round, you know, the side that won it flawlessly would go on to win, well, probably the rest of the game if they're going to continue on in that way. But it's great to see that Mouseplayz have actually come back from that, and they managed to get it down to a 1-1 scoreline. The fact that this is the case is actually just, frankly, crazy, really, because you wouldn't expect a flawless round to obviously come back to this, but obviously something you see in T1 is the fact that it goes 1-1, so maybe they found the adaptation that they needed, they played the right strat, they played something else differently. But we won't know, because obviously we didn't see it on the stream. What we're going to see now is a bakery extension by the defenders on a kitchen defense. What you normally see is something more towards the freezer side where they have the rotation. They play inside of VIP, they try and play around the restaurant area. But playing inside a bakery with the Jaeger on my combo does work very efficiently. It just depends where this attack is going to come from, because currently linear attacks are very favoured in the meta to come from that freezer side. We're going to see exactly what happens in this round, though. It's a very heavy bakery extension, and the defenders will be hoping that they all come from that direction.
It's going to be really, really tough for Reactive to actually dislodge any kind of freezer sort of reinforcements and gadgetry, all things considered, because of the fact that the Kaid is in play. If I'm not mistaken, I already saw an electric claw be tossed up over towards that freezer side, so if they do want to sort of put their eggs into that particular basket, they're going to need to actually claim control of dining, or just start things off by taking Jailbreak out of commission. Once again, he is, if I'm not mistaken, the opening frag on the side of Mouseplayz once again for 2 rounds out of 3, which doesn't necessarily bode all too well for them, considering the fact it happened in roughly 45 seconds. So that's a bit rough on the side of MPZ.
Yeah, definitely. He went down in the flawless round in the first 30 seconds of the round even. We were just getting started on the match, and then he goes straight down, and we've done the exact same thing again. He goes down, I reckon he's done another spawn peek. I reckon he's just decided, you know what, screw it. I'm going to play as aggressive as possible, try and get as many picks as possible for this defense. But what it does is it means that a minute 10 into the round, the attackers have full control of the second and third floor, and now they're going to be looking to make their pressure on this first floor. You're going to see the sledge come around and just slap as much of this wooden panel as possible, because of the fact that the defenders are playing more anchor dependent on the site itself. The amount of time they have to be able to use these holes, and the fact they're so advantaged when they are using them, means that it's going to be a likely advantage for this attack.
Yeah, 110% agree with you on that one. Mouseplayz, they're basically relegated to playing down below. They've got to turtle up, and they're basically just buying themselves as much time as possible. If I'm not mistaken, that's Akri. He's already gotten himself an angle onto kitchen prep. The hatch over by freezer has indeed already been opened, and Reactive, they still got plenty of Heartbeat utility left in the event that they do actually want to open up freezer or bakery or even the bottom of red, for example, but time is starting to run on out. The clock doth tick. Reactive, they've got to make the next move, and losing out on your Zofia just ain't it.
Yeah, they're all very anchored in the exact same spot. If we just have some intel onto the actual bomb site itself, they're going to understand this. At least the sledge does manage to find the first kill with the L85, and now the defenders have decided to spread out into theoretical power positions that they can find. Having somebody inside of bakery to hold off where this ash is coming from is going to be very useful to make sure they don't get backstabbed. But it's going to be down to the MP5K of Polar to be able to hold everyone off. Zano does find the kill onto the ash, and now he can actually direct himself back onto this bomb site. The sledge is up above, and it's going to be down to this Hibana to be able to find her way onto the bomb site. Nova is the first one to get a kill, and Ellis is the second to manage to trade that out. It's now 2 versus 2, and there's only 10 seconds, 8 seconds now left inside of the round. Zano's going to be playing this window position. He finds 1 kill, and the plant is going down behind the bomb. Adam does trade it out, but the defenders win it on time. A very close end to that round.
It was really, really close. I really got a feel for Adam over there. If his teammate on the Nomad were able to have provided coverage and taken out the player that was over by Kitchen Prep, we would have seen a completely different outcome. But obviously, that isn't an alternate reality. The one the one we are currently living in is the one where Mouseplayz were able to take that victory. And personally, I've got to say that I don't think they had any business winning that round, all things considered. Sure, they might have been able to actually hold down the fort for as long as possible, but the early round, things went incredibly south with Jailbreak being the first to fall for the second time in this matchup thus far, and essentially Mouseplayz, they just forfeited control of the entire map towards Reactive, and they were able to do with it as they saw fit. But time management on the side of Reactive was a bit of an issue. Naturally, they had a plan in mind. We saw they were able to open up Freezer. They were able to eventually work their way in and try to stick that diffuser, but obviously, in the heat of the moment, things can go wrong. Reactive, keep your heads cool. You guys will be able to take a couple of rounds if you're able to just realize exactly what's going on, respond accordingly, and to have it done in an appropriate amount of time. Once again, I'm going to hammer away the thought that time management was a bit of an issue in Reactive. They can definitely do better on it.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a big concern for the side of Reactive, because they had such a big advantage, but it didn't go their way. Something to talk about in this round, though, now, to move it on to what the defenders are doing right now. They're bringing a Bandit, and now the Bandit was running around in reading, putting his things on the reading wall, and they decided, you know what, I'm just going to put them all up here. I don't know whether Jailbreak is making us up on the spot or what he's doing. He's still got one in his pocket even. But I think that there's no reason to have two Bandits and a Mute Jammer in these different spaces. I think that only having the Mute and putting them in the right places is the correct way. This Bandit is frankly useless in this team comp. I think that the Bandits have been well targeted. They probably would have been playing a Valkyrie instead of this Bandit. But anything other than the Bandit in this position is probably just better, because Bandit's not very strong on this map in its entirety, in my opinion at least.
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about raw utility, he is... there is a lot left to be desired, but so many people, especially if you've been playing the game since its vanilla days back in December of 2015 and you fell in love with the MP7 with an ACOG, then it's really, really tough to actually let go to that kind of stuff. Jailbreak, he's probably reminiscing and he's going to try to make it work. Certainly, once again, Sophia the first to fall, a bit of a yikes. And on the subject of what you were talking about, Bandit being a bit of a void pick on the side of Mouseplayz, Hami is still holding on to 3 Mute Jammers that haven't been placed, and that unironically actually boosts Reactive's chance to actually grab a lot of live intel as to where these defenders are located, 3 of which are on the top floor. One of them, or if not all of them except for the Frost and Jaeger, have already vacated. So this is going to be quite the scuffle, and it's about to go absolutely explosive. Xano finds the first onto Bolo, and there is one more person up the top side that Xano can't land the shots onto for the time being. Currently with that Sterling MP9, or the 9mm SMG I should say. They're holding down the fort, and they've already burned out so much time. Sino is the next to fall, and all of the action is taking place on this top floor Reactive. They can't contest it.
Yeah, definitely. Xano does go for the prone little peek there, but it completely fails. He should have ADS'd in for that one. He was going for the montage clip. With that one, the Ashe is down, so it is back to a 2 versus 4, in fact, and Avarice is challenging this stairs angle. It's not going to go very well for him, and it clearly hasn't gone very well for the Ashe. Now, the way they've been holding on to this top floor is not particularly proficient. They're all just sitting in corners and they get punished for it. The Ashe comes straight in, and the Hibana with the Type 89 does manage to find yet another kill. So there's 40 seconds left. It's now a 2 versus 3 with 2 of the defenders playing around these positions. One inside of mining gets completely shut down by the Nomad AK, and it was a fantastic shot. They're dropping down into the pillars area and finding that shot into mining. It's down Sapola in a 1 versus 3. Can he clutch it out with 20 seconds left? He's in arguably the best position to do so, but as everything gets opened up around him, is he going to be able to deny this plant, let alone win the round? He's going to peek the hard breach, and he's going to be able to wriggle through it. There's someone at the reading door, and there's someone above. There's someone at the other side of the door, and there's no way he can get in, and round 4 goes the way of Reactive.
Once again, and I'm going to start sounding like a bit of a broken old record when I do say this, but this was the exact same thing that I saw in the previous round, and I'm going to say it again. Reactive, they had absolutely no business winning that round whatsoever. Everything was stacked against them. They struggled so greatly to claim control of top floor. Keep in mind that Mouseplayz had roughly 3 players inside of bar, cocktail, as well as over by the top of construction, that were just hunkering down and just waiting for Reactive to make the first move. And unfortunately, Reactive, they weren't necessarily living up to their namesake. They were the ones that had to be proactive, and they struggled so greatly to try to kill some of the players over by that top floor. They lost, what was it, roughly two bodies, including Sino, who was finally injured, set in the DBNO state, but then later picked up to 20 HP. And then they did stand a fighting chance, but the question still remains, where did it all go wrong on the side of Mouseplayz? Because it looked extraordinarily solid.
Yeah, well, I'd argue against that, because when they were sitting inside of Cocktail, the reason why you reinforce those walls on the top-hand side of your screen right now, as you can see in the overview, is because you're meant to be able to hold a crossfire onto that double door. That's not what they did. They all just sat inside of the barrels area, top white. They all just sat there and waited to get swung on us. And essentially, the swinger of the Ash, the Hibana, they managed to win their gunfights because they were favoured being the ones that were swinging. If you're holding a crossfire, that's not the case, because they can't just swing on one of you. They're going to get peeked from the other angle, but that's not what they were doing. They had three people sitting in the exact same space, and that's why all three of them ended up falling.
Yeah.
So I think that, obviously, there's got to be a better way for Mouseplayz to be able to hold that. Either they all go back, or they all stay in their positions, and they kind of had a split call there. Some of them went back, some of them decided to stick around, and those that stuck around were the ones that lost their lives to the Ash and the Hibana. And that's really what changed the round in its entirety.
Yeah, definitely. But luckily enough for Mouseplayz, they no longer have to tango with that bomb site down below, as the top floor has once again been unlocked. And mixed results so far for Mouseplayz on this particular bomb site. They are, well, 1 for 2, speaking, with a 50% win rate, and we did see it in the opening 2 rounds. So this could potentially be round defining. Obviously, Cafe, it has historically been known to be one of the most defender-sided maps, and unlike Oregon, for example, or Clubhouse, it hasn't necessarily seen that much of a shift towards the offense. So Mouseplayz, they're banking on this particular round. If they're able to grab this and then the next, they'll move into the second half with a 4-2 split, which is the ideal scenario, but they're going to have to work extra hard to do so because of what transpired in that previous round. If Reactive find themselves in a very precarious position, then they can definitely fight back, and oh boy, trust me, they will fight back. So Mouseplayz, they got to play their cards carefully this time around because they need this third round.
Yeah, definitely. Half the round has gone away, and there seems to be very little happening. As soon as I say that, though, Zano is the first one to take a kill onto his name. He's now 5-1-2, and that is the K1A in his hands, finding the first pick of the round. So that was on to the Thermite, no less. Now, we were talking in the pre-game show about, well, not pre-game show, but in the pre-game, as to why the Thermite was a lot more precarious than the Ace that has been taken off of the board. Or at least the Jackal on the thingamajig, but the Ace was taken off the board, and it's because of the fact that he's so easy to be able to be picked off when he's going for his Thermite charges, which he likely wasn't doing, but he's been picked off nonetheless. And yet another pick has happened, and Sino, the one who's trying to entry into this area, is the one to go down. They're just sitting behind shields, and they're managing to find kills. However, Balenciagas on the sledge does manage to find one in their revenge, and they're now going to look for a way onto the bomb site itself with 30 seconds remaining.
It's tough not to bust all things considered on the set of Reactive, but it is definitely doable. They are going to have to brute force the way to the bomb set. Or excuse me, Balenciagas is the one who's in charge of the spear. Now Avarice is going to stick that briefcase down and reset the clock down to 45 seconds, but it's starting to look that much more difficult to execute. But just like that, we do find ourselves in a post-plan as Avarice is able to take down Zano inside a freezer, and Hami, he's unfortunately enough the next to fall. Polar, does he spot out the feet? Yes, he does. He's able to convert this into a 1v1, and with that MP5, just a couple of 9mm shots is going to put Balenciagas out of commission. This is definitely doable. Time is certainly on his side as well, but there's a lack of intel. Pokeball will be tossed on out towards the kiosk, but he can't find some eyes on the sledge, unfortunately enough, and he's got to make his move. Balenciaga's playing this absolutely to perfection, just cowering behind the couch. L85, prepped and ready in arms, is able to take down Polar as he comes swinging in through the kiosk, and that is Reactive once again pulling a rabbit out of their hats, winning the unwinnable on Cafe. They find their third round.
Yeah, definitely. I think that obviously one of the key factors of that round was the fact that Nomad had the Fnatic skin. Clearly some great taste in his skin choices there, but really it was Actually, yeah, it was very much that Nomad that was the winning factor of the round. Being able to get in, plant the diffuser, and then find an exit kill from planting that diffuser. Obviously, he did then decide to sit in a corner for some reason and hope for the best, but there wasn't really a lot he could do there. Maybe he could have tried to push in, or at least trying to find some reconnaissance with the sledge. But the Nomad being able to get in and plant the diffuser, be able to find another kill after that situation, be able to have it be able to be converted into that win through a 1v1 is really what won them that round. And they're going to try to go for this bomb site again on Mouseplayz. And obviously it is them arguably the strongest site, I would say. Reaper has obviously said some other things. A lot of people do argue reading is the strongest, and as soon as I say this, the wrong wall has... Actually, no, that's completely fine, my bad. just ignore me. I was about to say the wrong wall had been reinforced, and then I looked at it properly, and the right wall has been reinforced. And then there's a bunch of other walls that just aren't reinforced with 10 seconds left. I don't know what's happening anymore, man. It's just... It's all over the place right now. They're going to set up some shields. They're going to do whatever they did in that last round and hope for a better outcome, where maybe Jailbreak, the man who's been put on the 416, can actually find some kills, because currently at the moment... He's just been peeking stuff, he's been dying. His own 3, he's got to get some kills on the board, and he's got to help Mouseplayz along.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, in round number 2, which was played off stream, Jailbreak was able to get himself a kill from a spawn peek. Nevertheless, that is something that no on production was able to confirm for us, but since we did bring in an observer, a different one, might I say, the stats have indeed been reset this time around, so that is why we might not be able to say for certain, but regardless. 30 seconds, I've already surpassed the pilgrimage over towards the rooftop of Cafe has already commenced. Reactive just blowing open those hatches, and the physics of this engine makes them actually just go kaboomskis. The shrapnel from those hatches just reaches so high, but that's besides the point. Mouseplayz, they have been struggling relatively greatly, and 2 players have already exchanged quite a bit of HP in the form of Zano as well as Balenciagas, as Adam already uses 1 exothermic charge, blows open Piano, so now they have an extra avenue to work with, and the first point of contact, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be Ellis or Polar. I'm not exactly sure who is playing in Restroom, but they're going to be they're tasked with holding onto Piano until their dying breath, and that is that's quite the responsibility.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a pretty difficult job. Now we see Jailbreak. He has decided to put himself in this bathroom position. Hopefully for himself, he can find some success while sitting in there. He has got some utility around him, but he hasn't got a lot of support from other operators towards his position. And I think that is definitely going to be something that might really lead to his downfall. And also, yeah, he's been forced off the position because he has very little support around his position. The shield goes down, and now they have control of Piano, other than the fact that Hammy could go for some kind of flank underneath. The problem with this defense is the fact that all of the defenders are now stuck inside a cocktail. And once they have got themselves some angles, they are playing some positions. As soon as this flanking defender goes down, which is what exactly happens right now, they've got such little control of the map, and whilst there is a minute left, and it is possible for them to win if they do find some picks, and they do play slightly more aggressive and use these angles to their advantage, it could very much go bad for them. 40 seconds is remaining. And we're going to see the explosive charges coming out from the Zephyr. All the drones have been coming out. There's some drones active on the map. A lot of them have died. But at this point, it's very much... You have to be going into what your execute is. 30 seconds left, and the smoke canisters are coming out. We're going to see whether these angles are actually going to come to fruition. However, everyone's just sitting in a corner right now. Whilst we have the All-My holding onto the doors, everyone inside of Cocktail is just putting their face first against a wall and hoping for the best. The diffuser is going down in the hands of Adam right now. And do the defenders know about it? Yes, they do, but they're just peeking everything and they're going straight down. So 1 versus 4 now, with Zano finding at least 1 kill. He peeks yet another angle, finds a couple bullets around the area of the attacker, but he goes straight down anyway, and it's 4-2 to Reactive on their attacking side.
That is absolutely masterful on the side of Reactive. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have seen our fair shares of 4-2 splits going the way of the offense, but it's not necessarily all that commonplace. And I've got to say that it wasn't necessarily them just playing miles and worlds above that of Mouseplayz. MPZ, they were, I don't even know how to actually call this, potentially even unintentionally hamstringing their own setups, because everything, it just looked extraordinarily wrong, especially in that previous composition and the round as it was played out. All things considered, we naturally did have Hami, who was the only player on the side of MPZ that actually did have a C4 in their back pocket, and he was the second player to fall, if I'm not mistaken, on the defensive side. So, boom, you've already lost on an explosive gadget that can deny the plant. Well, you're going to have to try to pull out the round the old-fashioned way, which they simply couldn't do so. Micro-positioning is an important factor in this game that everybody has to take into consideration, and when you're in a Mexican standoff, and when you're relegated to playing from inside of bar and cocktail, or the far eastern side of that top floor, as well as over by construction, without even being able to actually peek and contest the diffuser as it's going down over by trash wall, you're not going to technically walk away with that round in your back pocket. It was very, very concerning to see how Mouseplayz did initially set their sort of defense up, then vacated lots of it, especially piano, as well as restroom, just essentially saying that's all up for grabs on the side of Reactive. It was rough. But now moving on to the attack, let's hope that they actually can move into the second half fresh face and try to claw their way back into this matchup.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely a culprit of not playing aggressive enough in this meta for Mouseplayz. They're just sitting back and hoping that the utility is going to win them the round, which unfortunately is not the case anymore. They haven't found any success with that. Obviously, they're going to be holding off the spawn peaks now and the aggressive play from the defenders, but we're going to see whether they're actually going to be aggressive on this attacking side. They have got the stronger guns now, which might warrant them to be able to play more aggressively, but we're going to see exactly what happens. Now, 40 seconds in, the sledge is meant to be opening up the hatches, is only just going to get that done. About 10 seconds lost, but it's not the end of the world. It's only 10 seconds. It's not like that's going to win you a round in its entirety. Misses his 9 sledgehammer there, and they're going to take down some of the questionably placed frost mats that are just around to try and catch out any of these attackers. There are drones going in, but they're not being super coordinated. I think everyone's got their own little role that they're trying to execute on at the moment. There's a cam actually very nicely placed underneath the little bar there, getting some nice intel, which Zano capitalizes on perfectly. The mute is straight off the board, that SMG-11 shotgun combo, which is very strong, not necessarily on this bomb site, but very strong in its entirety, is off of the board, and it's now a 4 versus 5, which is more important probably than the fact that the SMG-11 has gone down. There's 2 people on the top of Skylight, which is often something you don't really see. You see a lot of people over by the west side. There's actually 3 people up here. I don't know what they're still doing up here with a minute and a half left in the round, but we'll see exactly why. That is, they're going to get some utility down. There's a frost mat over behind the bar there, which could actually catch someone out if they don't get it.
They have spotted it out earlier. There was a contextual ping that came out, so they know that the frost mat is indeed over by the bar, so it's not necessarily going to catch them off guard, dare I say, unless somebody didn't actually get that information live, which would be... that would just be very, very unfortunate, but regardless, Ellis sends out one of those Gemini replicators to try to gather even more intel, and despite the fact that Mouseplayz, they do maintain the man advantage, that's not the only thing that is going to win them the round. They still need to brute force their way into the bomb site itself, and Balenciagas is certainly giving them a run for their money, holding down the fort from inside of the washroom. He has spotted out a couple of players, and luckily enough for him, he's got Avarice as backup. Jailbreak is the first to fall once again, but Hami, he's going to clap back, shuts down Avarice, who was playing from inside of Freezer, and now Zyno has taken up that long angle instead, but it might just be a bit too little too late, as Reactive have been relegated to just 2 last standing players on their side. They've got to hold on for 15 seconds, and Zyno, he can't accomplish that. The wide swing comes in from Adam. He's able to find one first troubles with the SMG-11, but unfortunately enough, he'll be caught mid-rotate by Zanu, who, if I'm not mistaken, picked up 2 kills, potentially even 3 by the time that that round had indeed concluded. And this, GZ, is an entirely different Mouseplayz than what we saw earlier in the first half on their defense.
Zano's very much the aggressor on the side of Mouseplayz, and that's exactly what they need in this time. He's been put on the sledge, he's got the L85, and he's playing very well in this aggressive kind of play, which he needs to be able to do as an entry kind of role. The defenders were actually playing that very well in the man disadvantage situation. Obviously, they have to find a way to get back into an advantage, which is through their aggressive play, trying to find any pick possible. And they did attempt to do that. You saw them all move up into more aggressive positions as they lost more of their men. And that's a very big contradiction to what Mouseplayz were doing. Mouseplayz were just sitting back and hoping for the best, which is definitely not what you want to do when you're in a man disadvantage. You want to be able to peek things. You want to be able to look for a way for you to use your superior gun skill to be able to find your way back into a round. And that's exactly what Reactive were trying to do. They were trying to be reactive to the fact that they lost a man. But Zano coming through, he's got 10 kills now, and he's just commanding this game through his own gun skill.
Yes. And I've got to say that on the side of Reactive, I can definitely respect the decision that they made in that previous round to try to actually take much more risks in order to regain that man advantage, but unfortunately enough, they didn't necessarily reap the rewards. And personally, as a caster, I would much rather see teams fight really, really hard to get themselves back in the driver's seat than for them just to sit back, wait out the clock, and play things all that much more conservatively. It's not necessarily all too entertaining, but it also just speaks to the overall confidence levels on the side of a squad. Reactive, for example, even though they didn't walk away with a dub in that particular round, I've already sort of written them off as the better defensive side just because of the fact that they were able, or not necessarily able to, but they were willing to go the extra mile to try to get that round dub. Because of the fact that they were on the back foot, they tried to claw their way back into it. They were really putting up a fight on the side of Mouseplayz. They just couldn't thread the needle, but I still gotta respect that.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to see what happens in this round. We're going to see if Mouseplayz actually change anything up, because they were at risk of losing if it went into a bad state if they got picked off by those aggressive plays, but they were the ones that won the round, and it was rather convincing from them on the hands of Xano. We're going to need to see whether any other member of their squad can pick up their gunfights and pick up their gun wins. Hammy is 4-0-4, but the rest of the members of the squad are not doing very well. Jailbreak, he's come into the game, he's been playing Ash Jaeger the whole time, but he's going 0-5. What's going on with him? But hopefully he can turn it around in these final few rounds, and it's going to be an interesting way that the defense set up. They're going to set up exactly the same way, but they're going to have this Echo play on the shield with the 1.5. I'm not aware as to whether he was playing that one before, but...
No, he wasn't. If I'm not mistaken, that was one of the SAS operators, and then we also had the Melusi play inside of Freezer. Yeah, Reactive have definitely changed things.
Yeah, I think that having that 1.5x there is going to allow them to be more aggressive towards Piano, which is where the round's going to be won or lost.
It was the Frost. Yeah, my mistake. It was the Frost as well as the Melusi that were playing in Bathroom as well as Freezer.
Yeah, this is where the round's going to be won or lost. Can they play aggressive inside of Piano, and can they find the picks? Avarice is the first one to do so, and we'll see whether this converts into a round win.
Yeah, definitely so. But Mouseplayz, they're not down for count just yet. They are already beginning to toss out quite a ton of utility over towards Washroom, and if I'm not mistaken, they have already dislodged Balenciagas ever so slightly because he's still willing to persist over by that position, but now over by Pixel instead. Goes for the initial wide swing and is able to take Xano out of commission, but ooh, Hami's going to do him a solid and return the favor just like that. Avers from down below at the bottom of Red Stairs is able to find a nasty little two-piece with that Nitro Cell. Two birds with a single stone is essentially what won Reactive this round, and you know what, the cherry on top is just using the MP5, the good old-fashioned way to take out the last remaining attacker over by that bathroom portion. That is a much more convincing victory on the side of Reactive, and sure, it may have all to do with the fact that Avers was able to just take two players out with that Nokia brick without even having to lift that much of a finger, but still, that looks so much more commanding from the beginning to the mid-round on the side of Reactive. They were in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I think that there's a very big difference between how the Melusi played the roam on the side of Reactive and on the side of Mouseplayz. We saw them with Mouseplayz. She had the Nitro Cell in hand when she went for that flank. And very much the theory of playing that downstairs position on this bomb site is you use your Nitro Cell, then you look to flank, then you look to come back to site. You have to use your utility. You have to use the reason why you're there to be able to win you the round. And that's very much what the Melusi did. She understood, yeah, I have to look for this Nitro Cell here, then I can look to come back to site with my gun. And that's exactly what she did. She used the Nitro Cell, and luckily enough, she got 2 kills from it. She knew that people were down over by the area like the other side of Piano, where the normal breach is over by little check-in desk, or whatever they have called it. The minibar. Oh, yeah, minibar.
It's a minibar, yeah.
Yeah, they got themselves down by minibar. They chuck up the Nitro Cell. They find 2 kills, and life's fun that way, because they just find 2 kills. They get it done. They get it done. So they win the round because they understand what their role is in each of these positions. And maybe Mouseplayz aren't as brushed up on their siege theory as they should be when they're coming into these games, because you have to know, in this position, I am needed to do this. I need to do this. This is what I'm trying to do in my position. And very much for that role, the Melusi has to use their Nitro Cell before coming back to site, before using their gun.
Yeah, the thing that actually really surprises me is that Mouseplayz on their defense, when they were revisiting the top floor numerous times, they were employing the exact same kind of strategy. Tommy, more often than not, was the exact same Melusi that you were talking about. He was the roamer on the bottom floor with C4 in his back pocket, looking to create an opening for Mouseplayz on their defense. The fact that they weren't able to read into the exact same strategy that they played not too many rounds ago is extremely worrisome on the side of Mouseplayz, and Reactive were able to pull it off so easily, and Mouseplayz couldn't even contest the roamer downstairs, regardless as to whether they knew if there was a Melusi playing with the C4 down below or not.
Yeah, exactly. And a minute into this round, we're gonna hopefully see some extra nitro cells flying about now that the attackers have to play above where the defenders are going to be. It looks like they're going to be going for a full map clear. And a minute in, only just having got into the building itself is not exactly the quickest way to get around things. The roamers have decided that now is about time to fall back, which is, whilst they have shot, they've shot one drone, so falling back all the way to the bottom floor is probably not the right call. But they know that the attackers are going to be cutting them off quickly. They could have maybe stuck around for a bit longer, but that's not what they're going to do. They're going to have Hammy running around. They're going to have a bunch of drones just trying to find their way around this floor. Check every little corner is clear before a minute left in the round comes around, and they start clearing all of these different little corners and start opening up all of the vertical play that they need. Jailbreak takes a little bit of damage. He's been taking a lot of damage this game with his scoreline, but at this point, he's going to hope for any old kill that can come his way. Nomad's actually peeking bottom white, playing very much the entry role, even though she has 2 air jabs in her pocket. Only having air jabbed the white stairs, probably air jabbing the other stairs would be very beneficial just to stop any kind of flank coming through. But this is very much a kind of default clear in terms of the fact that they are taking from this freezer side over with some pressure from above. It's not the traditional linear style take. But Hami goes down on this flank. Guess what, Hami? And Ellis also has gone down. It's not going well because the air jabs aren't in the places where they need to be. They are going for this linear kind of style now. But the fact is that they haven't been pushed out throughout this entire bit of the round, and they might get punished for it. However, Zano and Hammy find some beautiful kills, and with 15 seconds remaining, does this flank come through from the Melusi? This could be the round-winning play. Adam does manage to take out one. It's now for 3 versus 2. With 7 seconds left, he finds yet another. There's a 2 versus 2. He does get taken down, however, by the R4C, but Arvis from behind does manage to find yet another. A 2 versus 1, and now he does peek the doorway. Does Jailbreak manage to hold him off? Yes, he does for the moment. He goes into freezer. He's going to have to reload at this point, and he's got 40 seconds to be able to try and get towards where this diffuser is planted. If he finds 1 kill, that could very much convert the round for him. The Ash of Jailbreak is in a very powerful position, and the prone defender behind the sinks area could very much be the downfall of this Melusi. 20 seconds remaining. It's not looking fantastic.
Oh, no!
And as soon as I say that, Iris finds 2 kills. He finds the kill onto the Ash. He finds the kill onto the prone Hibana. There he swings 2 corners. He's just better than them, and he takes the diffuser right there. Reactive are going to be loving the fact he's won that round, and he's going to be taking them yet another round win. A perfect play by the Melusi there.
Sino, I'm going to have to agree with what you typed in all chat right over there. Avarice too saucy. I'm going to leave it at that. Reactive. Oof. That was rough. That was rough. All things considered, the entire round did not work in their favor whatsoever. They lost a couple of players extremely early on, and they weren't even actually able to play the map to actually just shoot out a couple of drones before falling back to the bomb site. That's what you pointed out earlier. They only took down 1 drone before they decided to essentially just, wave around a for sale sign with the rest of the top floor as well. And then on top of that, right, they were all hunkering down on the bomb site. They, unfortunately enough, didn't have any crossfires established. Refrag potential was at an all-time low on the bomb site as well. And it was all down to Avers, who was far out on the roam and was able to pull out some stellar moments of heroism to bag Reactive. There's 6 rounds, so they now sit comfortably on match point. But the one thing that I actually did want to touch on was the sloppiness on the side of Mouseplayz. You did, for a hot second, point out that the air jabs weren't exactly placed where they needed to be. Now, if we take a look and think back as to where exactly Avers started his initial flank from, it was over by red stairs. It wasn't brown stairs, and it wasn't white stairs. And if memory serves me correctly, Hami, he set some air jabs over by white stairs as well as brown stairs. What you said, air jabs were not where they needed to be, and that was Mouseplayz's downfall. But then, it was a 2v1 situation. We saw absolutely outstanding shots being brought out from Zano as well as Hami. I think Ellis might have chimed in with one of his own there as well. And then, boom, the entire scenario got converted into a 2v1 situation. They had coverage, they had time on their side, and they weren't able to keep their heads cool, calm, and collected. Avarice, he came in swinging, kicking down the door, and just like that, he clapped 2 heads, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that another thing to note, whilst it is a bit of a joke, but Jailbreak actually found 2 kills in that round. But every time he finds kills, they lose the round. So it's just a little bit of a joke directed towards him there. I'm sure he won't take it too seriously. He's a nice guy at heart. We're going to see what happens in this round. They're going to be bringing a bandit. And Mouseplayz did the same thing. I made my point that time. I'm not going to reiterate myself again. And with a minute in, they're all dropping down. They've got some intel that's going to allow them to get into the bomb site itself. We're around at least this second floor. 3 cams have gone down, which means that they have actually been looking into areas and they have actually been concerning themselves with some defensive members. Swinging this white door is something I definitely do not suggest, as they're going to be taking a very bad gunfight for themselves because of the fact that the stairs can very much be a favoured gunfight for the defenders. But Sino on the Jaeger, he gets cleared out by some utility. There's going to be some flash grenades that head over towards his position, and they're going to be able to get in towards bathroom area. Avery's going to fall away straight away, and Sino, in fact, is taken down by Polar. So as soon as that happens, but guess what? Another double nitro cell, and whilst Polar finds yet another, the double nitro cells from Avis are just all over the place.
It's the second time he's been able to bag himself the exact same double kill. From 2 nitro cells that he's tossed out throughout the entire duration of this matchup, he has netted 4 kills, which is absolutely galactic. And it may just be the silver bullet that Reactive need to close off this matchup on Cafe 7-3 before Mouseplayz even actually have a chance to say anything about it. While they have gotten top floor control for themselves, they may not be long for this world as Avarice. Well, keep in mind that everything in this game is a double-edged sword. It works both ways, and Avarice was the first to realize that from himself and Zano, and now it's all down to Jailbreak. He certainly has a bit of time to try to piece together some kind of attack, and he does spot out Adam, but unfortunately enough, can't land the lethal shots. And even if he accomplishes that, guess what? There's still 2 players that he needs to power through. Diffuser is not in his possession, and now he's flirting with the idea of simply dropping down towards laundry or descending one of those staircases and try to take the fight directly towards the last 3 members on the side of Reactive. But we hit mission critical. The timer, it's starting to flash red, and he's forcing his way in through some of that toxic babe gas. And when you've got to go up against that SAS shoddy, well, he actually managed to live to fight another day, but I may have spoken too soon, as it's the bandit of AC that is able to close things off on the side of Reactive. A for effort for Sino, but it wasn't meant to be. Reactive, they take Cafe quite swiftly. 7-3 is the final score.
You said he lives to fight another day, but that is definitely going to be another 24 hours at least after losing that round and losing the game. For Mouseplayz, it was a 7-3 scoreline. Obviously, he didn't have as much of an impact as he would have wanted Jailbreak on that Ash and Jaeger. But again, you can see that the 2 star members were Avarice and Zano. 13 and 11 kills apiece. And yeah, it was a very, very fun game that very much came down to a unfortunately missed clutch by the side of Mouseplayz, whereas in the round before, the clutch by the Malusi for the side of Reactive definitely went their way.
Yeah, I've got to say that all things considered, this matchup was, it may have not necessarily been like the most action-packed thing, just because I would have really wanted to see an extra couple of rounds and potentially overtime to really sort of solidify the narrative behind this matchup, but it still came down to the wire in a lot of those rounds. We saw plenty of 2v1 scenarios as well as 1v1 scenarios that, frankly, just could have gone either way, but Reactive, they were much more favored in a lot of those particular gunfights, and especially when it came to, for example, a lot of executions that Mouseplayz were able to pull off when they found themselves in 2v1 scenarios. They really struggled the coffin, and if it's one thing that they should take away from this matchup is just technically managing to keep their heads cool and comms clear when it comes to those 2v1 scenarios, because more often than not, it was their downfall. We had people like Avarice going absolutely massive, pulling 2v1s out of their back pocket, and there's not necessarily much more else than I can say, but GG's on the side of Reactive. A lot of those rounds were close, but they were just a tad bit better.
Yeah, they definitely came into the game with both a better theoretical knowledge and also a better ability to be able to win some of these rounds. And I think that there are some obviously issues that are going to have to come into discussion for some of the side of Mouseplayz. There's obviously going to be some things that the roster of Reactive are going to be looking at as well in this game. But overall, it was a very competitive game. You can see why Reactive are third and Mouseplayz are fifth. And I think that hopefully for Mouseplayz, they do come back and they do bounce back off of this and to be able to put up a fighting chance. But very much Reactive on the day right here in this game were the better team and they did come out on top.
There's still quite a massive chunk to play through before we actually do make it to playoffs, so Mouseplayz, they definitely do have the opportunity to bounce back. But the one thing that we actually do have to touch on before we do indeed sign off is the actual adjusted standings, because of the fact that Reactive were able to bag themselves the full 3 points this evening. They're going to propel themselves up to top 2 within the open division, and they are practically within hugging distance with Kjell's Disciples as well. Kjell's, they're currently still ahead of the pack at 15 points, and now with Reactive coming off of this massive dub, they now sit on 14 points as well. So the competition in the open division is still super duper hot, and we gotta strike it while it is. Obviously, only 2 teams from open division make it all the way to playoffs, and personally, if you were to ask me right here who could it be, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah, neither could I. I think the league is very close for those teams that are up at the top there. There's obviously some stragglers being left underneath, but I hope for both of these teams that we've seen today, they can actually try and make a push up towards that, because they all have potential. Every team has the potential to be able to challenge for those top 2 spots. It's whether you put the time and effort in to look at your mistakes and be able to find your way up to those top 2 spots. But yeah, I think that from this game, we can see that potential from both sides, maybe more so with Reactive. But again, a very good game, and I think it's something to look forward to for the rest of the open division.
Yeah, definitely so. But that is going to effectively do it for this evening. We do have some more matches taking place throughout the weekend, as well as the major division, or Playday 6 of the major division is going to be kicking off tomorrow. If I'm not mistaken, the matches that you can expect to see should we hold and host live streams, you will find that out via our social media. Make sure to go ahead and follow us at ECS Rainbow 6 on Twitter. We've got Arctic versus Jaegers. We've also got Team Manic versus Lo-Fi. Lions Creed versus Skittles, and the last one, if I'm not mistaken, is supposed to be Cyberground versus Bulldog in the major division. I may need to be corrected about that, but obviously, if you're in the Discord, you can go ahead and check out the schedule for yourself, so don't quote me on that. But for the time being, thank you so much to everyone in Twitch chat who indeed tuned in. I've been Tudors, alongside me was Cheesy, and working production, as always, we've got Noah and Science making the magic happen this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of SI, because there's plenty of action that you certainly don't want to miss. And we will see you guys back here throughout the weekend for Major Division, but make sure to have everything on 2 monitors as it should be. For now, thank you once again. Take care and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Like you do. Like you do. Like you do.
a second now, catch my breath. Yeah, I gotta slow down, cause when you're near, everything that I planned just goes away.